There's a slot machine on the casino floor right now that's mathematically primed to pay out big. And if you know the 5 specific signs to look for, you could be the one sitting at it when it hits. I spent 13 years as a casino floor supervisor at properties in Nevada, Mississippi, and tribal casinos across 3 states. My primary responsibilities included monitoring real-time machine performance data, tracking coin-in and coin-out ratios, analyzing payout patterns, and strategically repositioning machines based on their performance metrics. Every single shift, I watched patterns emerge that indicated when specific machines were approaching significant payout events. These weren't superstitions or lucky guesses. These were observable mathematical indicators backed by performance data. You've suspected that machines show signs before they pay, that certain patterns predict imminent bonuses, that casinos track information about machine readiness they don't share publicly. You're absolutely right. And these 5 signs reveal exactly what to look for. Before I expose these 5 critical signs, I need 3 things immediately. First, hit that like button right now. Second, subscribe and activate notifications because this information represents knowledge casinos prefer players never discover. Third, comment below. What's the biggest jackpot you've ever hit? And did you notice any patterns before it happened? These 5 signs aren't guarantees. Nothing in gambling ever is, but they represent observable indicators that dramatically improve your probability of being on the right machine at the right time. Let's start with the most mathematically powerful sign that indicates a machine is accumulating toward a payout. Sign number 1. High coin in with disproportionately low coin out indicates mathematical accumulation that must eventually correct. Let me explain these critical terms. Coin in represents the total amount of money wagered on a specific machine over a given period. Every bet, every spin adds to the coin in total. Coin out represents the total amount that machine has paid out in wins during that same period. When coin in significantly exceeds coin out, that machine is accumulating money. It's taking in far more than it's paying out. Here's why this matters mathematically. Machines are programmed to hit specific RTP, return to player, percentages over their operational lifetime, typically ranging from 85% to 95%, depending on denomination and location. If a machine is programmed at 92% RTP, it must return $92 for every $100 wagered over millions of spins. This isn't a suggestion or average. It's regulatory programming. Here's the critical insight. If a machine has taken in significantly more than it's paid out relative to its programmed RTP, mathematics demands a correction. Not because the machine is due, not because of karma or luck, because of programming requirements. Let me give you a concrete example. A dollar machine has accumulated $5,000 in coin in today, but it's only paid out $3,000 in coin out. That machine is currently holding 40%. It's keeping 40 cents of every dollar wagered. But if that machine is programmed for 92% RTP, it's running 32% tighter than its programming requires over the long term. Over subsequent thousands of spins, that machine must pay out more to reach its programmed 92% average. The mathematics are non-negotiable. As a supervisor, I reviewed daily performance reports showing each machine's hold percentage. Machines consistently holding 15% to 20% above their programmed rate were automatically flagged in our tracking system. We'd monitor these machines closely because we knew significant payouts were mathematically approaching. The question wasn't if they'd pay, but when. Here's what you can observe as a player without access to internal data. Watch how long players have been sitting at a machine without winning anything significant. Notice if a machine has been continuously occupied for hours, but you haven't heard bonus triggers or jackpot celebrations. Check if progressive meters have been climbing steadily without resetting. If a popular machine in a prime location has been cold all day with heavy play volume, probability mathematics say it's getting closer to a correction cycle. The math always catches up eventually. Let me tell you about a specific example that perfectly illustrated this pattern. We had a Buffalo Gold machine positioned in our prime center floor location. Over 7 hours on a packed Saturday, that machine accumulated extraordinary coin-in from constant play. Our performance tracking showed it was holding 19% when its programming called for approximately 8% hold. I knew from years of experience that this kind of deviation doesn't sustain indefinitely. The mathematical correction was inevitable. And sure enough, that evening between 7 and 8:30 p.m., that same machine paid out 4 bonus rounds to 3 different players. The combined payouts exceeded $8,000. The math caught up exactly as programming required. It always does. But here's the critical caveat. This pattern operates over hundreds or thousands of spins, not 20 or 30 spins. If someone just sat down 5 minutes ago, the machine isn't ready yet. You need volume. You need sustained play with sustained losses before mathematical correction becomes probable. Think of it this way. If a machine needs to maintain 92% RTP over 1,000,000 spins, but it's currently at 65% RTP over 8,000 spins, those next several thousand spins will be weighted heavily toward payouts to bring that average back toward programming requirements. The more extreme the deviation, the more dramatic the eventual correction will be. Sign number 2. Near-miss frequency increases dramatically, indicating the machine is mathematically approaching a payout threshold. Near misses occur when jackpot symbols appear just above or below the pay line, or when bonus symbols land on 2 of 3 reels, but not all 3. These are almost wins that aren't wins whatsoever. Here's something most players don't understand. Near misses are deliberately programmed into game software. They're not accidents or random occurrences. They're sophisticated psychological tools designed by game manufacturers to maintain player engagement. This is legal, standard industry practice, and extensively researched. But here's the revealing part. Near-miss frequency can indicate where a machine is in its payout cycle. Before a machine triggers a bonus or significant win, near misses often cluster together dramatically. You'll see bonus symbols appearing 2 out of 3 reels repeatedly. You'll see scatter symbols landing just off the pay line multiple times consecutively. It's as though the RNG, the random number generator controlling outcomes, is circling around the winning combination. Manufacturers program this intentionally to build psychological tension before payouts. As a supervisor monitoring surveillance cameras, I notice this pattern constantly. Machines displaying excessive near-miss clustering often paid out within the next 100 to 200 spins. We'd actually reference this in supervisor meetings, saying a machine was warming up when we observed this pattern on monitors. Here's how you can identify it yourself. If you're seeing bonus symbols appear 2 out of 3 reels repeatedly over 10 to 15 spins, that's an indicator. If scatter symbols keep landing just off-screen or barely missing the pay line, that's an indicator. If wild symbols are appearing in clusters but not quite completing winning lines, that's an indicator. Don't walk away when you see this pattern developing. The machine is mathematically approaching a programmed payout event. Let me explain the technical reason this occurs. The RNG cycles through billions of possible number combinations every second. When it's approaching the threshold to trigger a bonus feature, near misses statistically increase. The machine isn't teasing you deliberately. It's mathematically approaching a programmed payout threshold. The RNG operates on number sequences. Certain number ranges trigger bonuses. Adjacent ranges trigger near misses. When the RNG cycles through numbers adjacent to bonus trigger ranges, you see those near misses accumulate. It's a mathematical side effect of how the programming architecture works. But I must give you critical caution. This sign works best in combination with other indicators. Don't chase near misses alone indefinitely. Set a limit. If you see near-miss clustering for 50 to 75 spins without a payout trigger, reassess your strategy. Let me share a specific example I witnessed. A player was on a lightning link machine experiencing consecutive near misses. Gold orb symbols appearing on reels 1 and 2, but not 3. Link symbols showing up 2 at a time, but not triggering the hold and spin feature. I was monitoring on surveillance because I recognized the pattern immediately. 14 near misses across 48 spins. I'd seen this exact pattern dozens of times before. I knew what was mathematically approaching. On spin 53, the hold and spin feature triggered. The player accumulated over 200 spins with progressive multipliers. Final payout was $3,200. The near misses weren't random clustering. They were mathematical indicators that the machine was approaching the trigger threshold. Sign number 3. The machine just paid someone else a modest win, and contrary to player instinct, this often signals continued payout probability. This sounds completely counterintuitive. Most players actively avoid machines that just paid someone else. They think, that machine just paid. Now it's cold and needs to accumulate again. This is backwards for specific machine types. Many modern slot machines feature what we internally called cluster payout programming. When one bonus hits, the probability window for additional bonuses remains elevated briefly. These aren't cold cycles. These are hot streaks, and they're deliberately programmed into game mathematics. Here's how it operates. Volatile machines, meaning high-variance games, are designed to pay in concentrated bursts. They don't distribute wins evenly over time. They accumulate, then release multiple payouts, then accumulate again, then release again. The mathematical model behind volatile slots is designed this way intentionally. Instead of distributing wins evenly across all playing sessions, the game concentrates wins into compressed time windows. This creates excitement, generates big win stories, and maintains the perception that machines can pay significantly. As a supervisor, I observed this pattern constantly. A machine would pay a $300 to $700 bonus. The player would cash out and leave satisfied. Then the next person would sit down and hit even larger within the next 75 to 150 spins. We'd shake our heads watching this repeatedly. The first player would walk away, thinking they'd captured a win and should quit ahead. But they left during the middle of a hot cycle. They captured one burst from a cluster of programmed bursts. This pattern was consistent on specific machine types. Buffalo Series games like Buffalo Gold and Buffalo Grand, Lightning Link Series, Dragon Link, any game featuring stacked wilds or progressive bonus structures, games with volatile mathematical models, cluster wins together deliberately. Here's your strategy. If you observe someone win a moderate amount, let's say $200 to $800, and they cash out and leave, position yourself at that machine immediately. Play for minimum 50 to 100 spins to determine if the hot cycle continues. But set a strict stop-loss. If you don't see bonus triggers or significant wins in that window, move on strategically. Why do players miss this opportunity? Psychological bias. They see a payout and assume the machine must be finished. There's fear of losing what the previous player just won, but the RNG doesn't know or care what just occurred. If the machine is in a favorable burst cycle, that cycle continues regardless of who's occupying the seat. Let me share a specific example. I was supervising on a Thursday evening. A Dragon Link machine paid $950 to a player in a hold and spin bonus. The player was thrilled, cashed out, departed the casino. 40 seconds later, another player sat down at that identical machine. Within 37 spins, the hold and spin feature triggered again. $1,400 payout. I witnessed this exact pattern minimum twice weekly during my supervisor tenure. It wasn't coincidence. It was programming. Critical distinction. This applies to modest wins, not massive jackpots. If a machine just paid a major jackpot exceeding $5,000, That machine likely is resetting and entering an accumulation cycle. There's a substantial difference between a $600 bonus and a $12,000 jackpot. Know which pattern you're pursuing. Sign number 4. Progressive meters approaching critical thresholds, specifically must-hit by progressives nearing their caps. Progressive jackpots are jackpots that grow with every bet placed across linked machines. Some are local progressives, linking machines within one casino. Others are wide-area progressives, linking machines across multiple casinos, or even multiple states. But the progressives I want you focusing on are must-hit-by progressives. These represent genuinely exploitable opportunities. A must-hit-by progressive has a specific guaranteed cap. For example, a machine might display must-hit by $500. That means the progressive jackpot will trigger before reaching $500. It's guaranteed by programming. Here's the critical insight. Most must-hit-by progressives trigger between 80% and 95% of their cap. If the cap is $500, it will almost certainly hit somewhere between $400 and $475. Very rarely does it trigger at extremes, either very low or precisely at the cap. As a supervisor, we maintained detailed spreadsheets tracking progressive hit history. We documented every trigger event and the exact amount when it occurred. Over time, clear patterns emerged. Specific machines would consistently hit at 85% to 92% of cap with remarkable predictability. We tracked this data because it affected player behavior and floor traffic patterns. But you can leverage this identical information to your advantage. Here's why this becomes exploitable. Expected value shifts positive at certain thresholds. Let me explain precisely what that means mathematically. Assume you're playing a machine with a must-hit-by progressive set at $500. The progressive meter currently shows $150. At this point, your expected value is negative. The progressive still has $350 to grow before guaranteed trigger. You'll likely spend more pursuing that progressive than the progressive is currently worth. But if that same progressive meter shows $485, your expected value shifts dramatically positive. You're extremely close to a guaranteed trigger. The mathematics temporarily work in your favor. You only need to cover $15 of growth before the jackpot must trigger by programming. Professional advantage players actively hunt these situations. They systematically scout casino floors, specifically searching for must-hit-by progressives near their caps, and they occupy those machines until the progressive triggers. Here's which progressives you should target strategically. Must-hit-by jackpots at 90% or higher of their cap. Local progressives where you can directly observe the meter and track it personally. Mystery progressives at historically elevated levels based on your observations. Avoid wide-area mega-progressives like megabucks. The odds of triggering those are astronomical, sometimes worse than lottery odds. You're substantially better off with local must-hit-by progressives where the trigger is guaranteed within a specific observable range. Here's how to use this sign strategically. Scout the complete casino floor for progressive meters. Document which ones are near their caps. Calculate whether the expected value justifies your play mathematically. If a $500 progressive is at $496, that's absolutely worth playing. You're risking maybe $20 to $40 to win $496. That's genuinely positive expected value. If it's at $150, move on immediately. You'd likely spend $200+ chasing a $500 jackpot. The mathematics don't support that play. Let me tell you about when I personally used this knowledge. Our casino operated a bank of 12 machines with a must-hit-by progressive set at $1,000. Over months of data tracking, I noticed it almost always triggered between $910 and $970. Never lower than $890. Never higher than $988. One evening after my shift concluded, I noticed the progressive meter at $957. The mathematical probability said it was extremely close. Historical data confirmed it, so I played. 98 minutes later, the progressive triggered at $973. I won $973. The mathematics were correct. The historical data were correct. This wasn't luck. This was informed gambling based on observable, documented patterns. Advanced strategy. Track progressive hit history yourself over multiple casino visits. Some machines have extraordinarily predictable patterns. They consistently hit at 85% to 90% of cap. If you document this over time, you gain significant advantage over casual players who don't track data. But critical warning, don't pour unlimited money into a progressive simply because it's elevated. Set a bankroll limit based on expected value calculations. If you're spending $200 chasing a $500 progressive, you're not playing strategically. Even if the progressive is at $470, the expected value might be slightly positive but insufficient to justify $200 risk. Calculate the mathematics first always. Sign number 5. Time of day patterns and strategic floor placement, changes that indicate machine performance. This is the most controversial sign, so let me be explicitly clear about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. Casinos claim they don't adjust machine payout percentages based on time of day, and this is technically accurate. In most jurisdictions, casinos cannot change RTP settings remotely or instantaneously. It requires physical machine access, gaming commission approval, and extensive documentation. So no, casinos aren't tightening your machines at night and loosening them in the morning. That's not what I'm revealing. But what casinos absolutely do adjust is machine placement on the floor. And this is based entirely on performance data analysis. This was directly within my management responsibilities as a supervisor. Here's what actually occurred. Every morning, management reviewed overnight performance reports. We'd identify which machines paid out more than expected and which machines held more than expected. Machines running hot, meaning paying out more than their programmed rate, would get flagged. Then we'd relocate them. We'd physically move hot machines to less visible floor locations. Why? Because a hot machine in a prime location costs the casino significantly more money. If a machine is already paying more than expected, and it's in high-traffic areas where numerous players will discover it, that multiplies casino losses exponentially. So we'd relocate hot machines to back corners, near restrooms, in low-traffic sections. We weren't changing settings whatsoever. We were managing placement strategically to minimize exposure. And we'd do the opposite with cold machines. Machines holding more than expected would get moved to prime center floor locations. High visibility, maximum traffic, optimized profit. If you see a popular game suddenly appear in an unusual out-of-the-way location, there's a reason. It probably paid out excessively somewhere else, and management relocated it to reduce visibility and limit damage to casino profits. Now regarding time-of-day patterns, we did notice patterns in payout reports related to time, but not because machines were programmed differently at different times. The pattern existed because of player volume variations. During busy periods, machines cycle through their programming faster. More spins per hour means machines hit their programmed payback percentages more rapidly. More players means more total spins means faster progression through mathematical cycles. We noticed certain time windows produced more jackpots and bonuses than others. Early morning between 5 and 8 a.m. Machines had accumulated overnight play from third-shift players and graveyard gamblers. By morning, many machines were mathematically primed to pay because they'd cycled through thousands of spins overnight. Late afternoon between 3 and 5 p.m. The lunch crowd had built volume on machines throughout the day. By mid-afternoon, payouts would start clustering because machines had cycled through sufficient spins to trigger their correction phases. These weren't guaranteed windows. But supervisors documented these patterns in reports over months and years. Patterns are genuine, even if they're not intentionally programmed. They're side effects of volume and mathematics. Here's how you use this information as a player. Walk the entire casino floor systematically, not just main aisles. Check machines in low-traffic areas deliberately. Note which machines are new to specific locations. The best-paying machine on the floor might be concealed in plain sight near back restrooms because that's where we positioned hot machines when we wanted to reduce their visibility and limit damage to casino revenue. Let me share a concrete example. We had a popular Wheel of Fortune machine paying out excessively in its prime center floor location. Over 1 week, it held 3% instead of its programmed 9%. Management was furious. That's an 88% payout rate when programming called for 91% hold. So we relocated it at 2:45 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. We moved that machine to a corner position near the back service corridor. Low visibility, minimal traffic. Problem solved from management's perspective, correct? Not quite. An advantage player I knew personally noticed the relocation. He'd been tracking that specific machine for weeks. He knew its location, performance, patterns. The next day, he located it in its new position and played for 90 minutes. He hit 2 bonus rounds in that period. The machine was still in its hot cycle. The relocation didn't change programming. It didn't reset the cycle. It only changed who discovered it. That player made approximately $1,800 because he paid attention to placement changes systematically. He understood that floor relocations were performance signals, not random maintenance decisions. Now let me address critical context. You need to understand these 5 signs properly. The RNG reality. While these 5 signs indicate favorable conditions, you must understand that every single spin is controlled by a random number generator that makes each outcome mathematically independent. The RNG generates billions of random number sequences every second continuously, whether anyone is playing or the machine sits idle. When you press spin, the RNG selects one specific sequence instantaneously. That sequence determines your outcome before the reels even start moving. The visible spinning reels are purely theatrical animation. This means several critical truths. Machines don't remember previous spins. They don't accumulate obligation. They don't become due in the supernatural sense. Every spin has identical probability to every other spin from the RNG's perspective. However, and this is crucial, while individual spins are random and independent, machines must mathematically conform to their programmed RTP over millions of spins. This creates the patterns I've described. High coin in with low coin out must eventually correct, not because the machine knows it's behind, but because continued random outcomes will mathematically regress toward the programmed average. RTP and denomination knowledge. I mentioned RTP briefly, but let me emphasize its importance. Higher denomination machines almost always offer superior RTP compared to penny slots. Penny slots, 84% to 88% RTP typically. Nickel slots, 87% to 90%. Quarter slots, 90% to 93%. Dollar slots, 92% to 95%. $5 slots and higher, 94% to 97% or better. That's potentially a 13 percentage point difference. Over thousands of spins, this compounds into hundreds or thousands of dollars difference in outcomes. Why? Because casinos generate more profit per spin on higher denominations, allowing them to offer better player returns while maintaining revenue targets. But critical balance. Better RTP means nothing if you can't afford adequate spin volume. If you only have $200 and play $10 spins, you get 20 spins maximum. That's insufficient for these patterns to develop or matter. Optimal strategy. Play the highest denomination your bankroll can support for minimum 150 to 200 spins. Bankroll management is essential. Even with these 5 signs, You need absolute discipline. Set a total bankroll limit before entering the casino. Set a loss limit. Maximum you'll lose in any session, typically 20% to 30% of total bankroll. When you hit it, leave immediately. Set a win limit, predetermined profit target, triggering serious evaluation about continuing or cashing out. Set a time limit, maximum session duration regardless of financial position. The 1% rule. Never bet more than 1% of your total bankroll on a single spin. This ensures adequate spin volume for patterns to potentially develop. Write these limits down. Make them concrete, not vague mental approximations you can rationalize away during play. Critical warnings about these 5 signs. These signs improve your probability of being on favorable machines. They don't guarantee anything. Gambling involves inherent randomness and risk. Don't chase signs indefinitely. If you've identified favorable conditions and played 100 to 150 spins without results, reassess. Maybe the correction is still coming. Or maybe your assessment was incorrect. Don't pour unlimited money into any situation. Combine multiple signs when possible. A machine showing high coin-in with low coin-out, plus near-miss clustering, plus recent modest payout, is substantially more promising than a machine showing only one indicator. Never gamble with money you can't afford to lose completely. These signs help you play smarter, not guarantee profits. Let me tell you about a player who perfectly exemplified intelligent use of these signs. I'll call him Marcus. Marcus was a semi-regular who'd clearly studied machine behavior extensively. He didn't play randomly or impulsively. Marcus would arrive and systematically scout the entire floor for 30 to 45 minutes before playing a single spin. He'd observe machines, check progressive meters, note which machines had been paying, watch for near-miss patterns. One Saturday, Marcus identified a Buffalo Grand machine that showed multiple favorable signs. It had been heavily played all afternoon without significant payouts, high coin in, low coin out. It was displaying frequent near-miss patterns, and it had just paid someone a $400 bonus who'd cashed out. Modest payout suggesting burst cycle. Marcus sat down with a $500 bankroll and a predetermined strategy. He'd play maximum 150 spins, or until he hit a significant bonus, whichever came first. His loss limit was $150. On spin 83, the bonus triggered. Marcus hit over 200 free spins with multiplier stacks. Final payout was $4,600. Marcus immediately cashed out and left the casino. He didn't ride the hot streak. He didn't think, I'm due for another big hit. He executed his strategy, achieved a significant win, and protected that win by leaving. That's intelligent gambling informed by observable patterns combined with absolute discipline. Let's summarize the 5 signs that indicate a machine is about to hit big. Sign 1. High coin in with disproportionately low coin out. When a machine is accumulating money far beyond its normal hold percentage, mathematical correction becomes increasingly probable. Watch for machines that have been heavily played for extended periods without significant payouts. Sign 2. Near-miss frequency increases dramatically. When you see bonus symbols, scatter symbols, or wild symbols repeatedly appearing close to winning combinations, the machine is mathematically approaching a payout threshold. Don't walk away during near-miss clustering. Sign 3. The machine just paid someone else a modest win. Contrary to instinct, machines with burst cycle programming often pay multiple bonuses in compressed time frames. If someone wins $200 to $800 and leaves, that machine may still be in a hot cycle. Sign 4. Progressive meters at critical thresholds. Must-hit buy progressives nearing their caps represent genuinely positive expected value opportunities. Focus on progressives at 90% or higher of their guaranteed trigger points. Sign 5. Strategic floor placement changes and time-of-day volume patterns. Hot machines get relocated to low-visibility areas. Scout the entire floor systematically. Pay attention to which machines appear in unusual locations. Consider playing during early morning or late afternoon when machines have accumulated sufficient volume to approach correction cycles. Here's ultimate truth. These 5 signs don't guarantee wins. They indicate favorable mathematical conditions that improve your probability of being on the right machine at the right time. Knowledge is your only genuine edge in casinos. Casinos profit enormously from information asymmetry. They possess complete data about machine performance, mathematical models, and payout cycles. You possess virtually nothing without this knowledge. These 5 signs substantially balance that information gap in your favor. They don't eliminate house edge. They don't transform gambling into investment. They help you play significantly smarter and recognize favorable conditions casual players never notice. If you found this valuable, I need 3 actions immediately. First, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm continuing to expose casino industry insider knowledge and observable patterns that improve your strategic play. This information isn't taught anywhere else, and casinos prefer it remain hidden. Second, share this video. Send it to anyone who plays slots. Post in gambling communities. Share on social platforms. More players understanding these signs benefits everyone by leveling the information advantage. Third, watch this video here where I reveal the specific slot machine types that casinos actually regret putting on their floors because they pay out too consistently when played strategically. Before closing, the mandatory, critical legal disclaimer. If you or someone you know struggles with gambling addiction, seek professional help immediately. Contact the National Council on Problem Gambling at 1-800-522-4700. Available 24 hours daily, 7 days weekly. This video is purely educational. I'm teaching existing gamblers to recognize observable patterns and play more strategically. I'm not encouraging gambling or suggesting anyone can consistently profit. Slots should always be treated as entertainment expense, never as income opportunity or investment strategy. The house maintains mathematical advantage in every game. You're paying for entertainment. If you expect consistent profit, you fundamentally misunderstand probability mathematics. But with these 5 signs, you can substantially improve your strategic play. You can identify favorable conditions. You can avoid the worst mistakes. You can occasionally, not reliably, but occasionally, be on the right machine at the right time when mathematical correction occurs. The 5 signs are yours now. Use them intelligently. Scout before playing. Observe coin-in and coin-out patterns. Watch for near-miss clustering. Position yourself after modest payouts. Target elevated progressives. Note floor placement changes. Combine multiple signs when possible. Play with absolute discipline. Set concrete limits and enforce them without exception. Never chase losses. Never play with money you can't afford to lose completely. The casino is mathematically designed to win long-term. But informed players who recognize these 5 signs and play with discipline can maximize their entertainment value and occasionally walk away with significant wins. Knowledge is your only edge. Observation is your weapon. Discipline is your protection. Play smart, stay alert to these signs, and remember, favorable conditions improve probability. They don't guarantee outcomes. Until next time, play strategically.